I'm only taking one step at a time towards healing myself. I had to get out, I found a way out. No more living in pain or misery. It's all about protecting my energy. Keep the negative away from me, because I am just keeping my peace. Cut off everything that no longer was serving me, and I chose to start loving myself. I walk in my purpose, no looking back, I'm only going with it. B.O. standing there, a better version of me. I must say that I'm proud of me. It's not about how you feel, I'm living proof that God is real. So let me show you how to heal. Damn it, I'm wearing it well, cause I came a long way. My journey isn't yet complete, that's what it look like to heal. Damn it, I'm wearing it well, I'm proud of myself. It's nothing to it, you can do it, all you gotta do is just fight through it. Create a soul, create a soul, create a soul. Just fight through it. Create a soul, create a soul, create a soul, create a soul, yeah, yeah.
Welcome to Pain to Purpose podcast, where we have open discussions to heal together as a community. Today, we're talking about breast cancer awareness, and our special guest is Shavon. Welcome, Ms. Shavon.
Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. How are you today?
I am well. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for asking. I'm glad to have you on. I definitely wanted to have a segment where we talk about breast cancer. It's so important. Breast cancer does run in my family. And I definitely wanted to have that as a topic to educate our community for breast cancer awareness. So thank you again for coming on.
You're welcome.
Can you give us a little bit about yourself?
So, yes, my name is Shavon. I was diagnosed with HR positive, HER2 negative breast cancer at the age of 26. And so I was very, how can I put it? I was shocked, basically. So, being 26, I don't have a family history of breast cancer. I also, I did get genetic testing done. I tested negative for the BRCA1 gene. So I was really confused as to how I was diagnosed with breast cancer. But again, I was 26, and I was told that I would have to get my breasts removed. And so I was very shocked, being 26, I had my breasts and I wasn't even thinking about having to get it removed. So, with the diagnosis, I did chemotherapy, I did radiation, I had my breasts removed. And the following year, I wound up getting metastasis. So initially it was the left breast, and the following year I had metastasis to the right breast. So I also wound up getting that breast removed. I have only done chemotherapy. I did chemotherapy the first time I was diagnosed. For each and every other time, I have done radiation. So I then got metastasis to my spine. And it was all three areas of my spine: the cervical area, the thoracic, the lumbar spine. And so I did radiation. I also got the BRCA1 genetic testing done again, because my oncologist was confused as to why it kept coming back. I tested negative again. And so she recommended that I get a hysterectomy. So I had a hysterectomy at 30. And after the hysterectomy, I was in remission. And so I was in remission for 10 years. Um, and during that time, I was on medication. They're called aromatase inhibitors. I was on two different types of medication, and those medications basically can cause osteoporosis. They're used to, since my cancer was based off of hormones, so I was hormone positive, which means estrogen and progesterone positive. And so any treatment that I got was directed towards preventing any estrogen in my body. So with those medications, they also have side effects, and one of them being osteoporosis. So in addition to being on the aromatase inhibitors, I was also on an infusion, which is called Zometa. And the Zometa is used to prevent bone loss, any bone fractures, and it also lowers the calcium level in people with cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So that was used in conjunction. But what happened was I wound up getting osteoporosis and I broke my femur in 2021. And so that changed the whole course of my treatment. Um, 2020, I was diagnosed with a lesion to my right cavernous sinus. And that's just basically a small area in your sinus. It is a part of my skull. There was a lesion there. They didn't know if it was benign or malignant. I refused a biopsy. So I did get 5 rounds of radiation. That did help. I was in excruciating pain.
So, what was the reason that you, if you don't mind me asking, why you refused the radiation?
So I refused the biopsy.
The biopsy, I'm sorry.
I refused the biopsy for the simple fact where it's actually located. It's
Uh-huh.
in a very small area. It is an area that is very hard to get to. And
Okay.
I would have had to get a craniotomy. And I'm sorry, I use a lot of medical terms because I am a registered nurse, but craniotomy is just, they're going to remove part of my skull. And so
Okay.
it was a very dangerous procedure. And it is the lesion is inoperable actually, because the location is near my carotid. And so they can't remove the lesion. So I also refused the biopsy. I did get 5 rounds of radiation. They were testing for a lot of things, sarcoidosis, Tolosa Hunt's, because they really didn't know if it was malignant or not. But the radiation did help. Um, and I was pain free for about 2 years until 2024. I started to realize that I had some paralysis in the right side of my face. So the lesion was originally diagnosed on the right side. It's the right cavernous sinus. I wound up having some paralysis in my face. Me being a nurse, I was self-diagnosing. I thought I had Bell's palsy. Um, but I wound up, going to my oncologist, and an MRI was ordered immediately. And they found that the lesion had grown back. It infiltrated my facial nerves and went down to the base of my brain. So with the behavior, it was considered to be malignant. I refused the biopsy again. I saw a skull-based specialist. He even stated that biopsy is not a curative measure, so there was really no need to get a biopsy. And so I wound up doing 20 rounds of proton therapy, which is another form of radiation. And so what I found out when it returned back to my skull is that I have a gene mutation. It's called PIK3. And with this gene mutation, it happens in breast cancer, happens with a lot of other cancers. So I was put on a medication called Piqray. The Piqray did help immediately. I noticed the change. It helped with the paralysis. It helped with my vision. It helped with the nausea and vomiting. But the Piqray was very toxic. So I got all of the side effects. It made my blood sugar go up 300, 400. Um,
So
I
it was treating one thing but causing problems in other
right,
areas.
right. I had a significant amount of diarrhea, skin rash. I lost almost 40 pounds on the medication. It altered the taste of my food. I didn't have an appetite. I had swelling in my legs. So it caused a lot of side effects. So what happened was I had shortness of breath. So I've had pulmonary embolisms before. And so I was having shortness of breath. I thought I was going to pass out. My heart rate was really elevated. I went to emergency. They didn't find anything wrong. I did find that shortness of breath and elevated heart rate were more side effects of the pick ray.
Mhm.
So I decided to stop the pick rate on my own. And I did tell my oncologist. So she agreed, and that was okay. So now I'm on another medication called TrueCap. There is no real evidence that TrueCap actually crosses the blood brain barrier, but these are the only two medications for the PIK3 gene mutation. So right now I'm on Piqray. Piqray is a lot better than,
Okay.
I'm sorry, right now I'm on TrueCap. Let me take, I'm not on Piqray, I'm on TrueCap. And so
Dick Ray was the one that was
Piqray
supposed
was
to
the
be one
one,
thing,
yes,
but do something.
yes. And so right now I'm on TrueCap. And TrueCap works in another way. It does target the PIK3 gene. It also targets, it's called a AKT1 and a PTEN gene. So it works in three different ways.
It you said it does what now?
It's so the Piqray only targets the PIK3 gene.
Okay.
So it is known to cross the blood-brain barrier, but the
Okay.
Piqray, it works in another way. It targets three different genes. So the PIK3, there's another one called AKT1 and one that's called PTEN. So it's just some other gene mutations. And so, the TrueCap is working. I get scans every 3 months. Um, so this is why it's extremely important. What I try to tell newly diagnosed breast cancer survivors, newly diagnosed breast cancer patients or survivors, is that it's very important to know what your subtype is. So my subtype is the HR positive, HER2 negative, which means hormone receptive positive, and then human epidermal growth factor 2, which is basically a protein on the cell that is negative. So my targeted treatment is for the hormones. And this is how you are able to understand what your course of treatment is going to be when you know what your subtype is. There is 4 specific type of subtypes for breast cancer. The subtype I have is the most common subtype that women are diagnosed with. So, I just try to tell women it's very important. That way you can advocate for yourself. You can decide if you want to do chemotherapy, if you want to do radiation. Because, a lot of people, a lot of women, some are deciding not to even do any type of treatment. They're doing more natural remedies. You can do those as well. And some people are just relying on their faith. They're doing it's important to do plant-based diets, because you want to eat a lot of foods with phytochemicals, which are the colorful fruits and vegetables. So you got the red, green, orange, yellow. You want to do a lot of berries because they are rich in antioxidants. And, some people are just doing raw vegetables, raw fruits. Um, because although chemo and radiation is used to kill cancer cells, chemotherapy also kills good cells as well. So, these medications are very toxic to the body, Um, but it's whatever you decide what's best for you. So I also incorporate some natural remedies. I do soursop tea. Um, and you can actually check on the National Institute of Health. There have been studies done on the soursop plant. So the extract from the leaf is actually, it has cytotoxic effects that are similar to chemotherapy and radiation, which is used to kill cancer. Um, and that has actually been studied. So the extract from the leaf causes apoptosis, which is basically just cell death. So it does kill the cancer cells. I also consume bitter apricot seeds. There really isn't any real evidence of that, but it's supposed to have some anti-cancer properties. And so, but you can only consume bitter apricot kernels or seeds in small amounts because they do have cyanide in them, which is what is supposed to kill the cancer. So you don't want to get cyanide poisoning, but it's not, it hasn't been regulated by the FDA. But, these are just things that people with cancer, they find different remedies that they can use to, heal themselves. I do black seed oil because it helps boost your immunity. It also helps with inflammation, and inflammation causes a lot of sickness in people as well. Mucus causes a lot of disease. And so, I do soursop bitters, and it has some added benefits. It has the leaves, it has the roots, it has the fruit extract, it has moringa, flaxseed, ginger,
It has
turmeric.
everything.
It has a lot of things in it. So I do incorporate these other natural remedies. I do sea moss. Sea moss is very good for the body. It has about 92 of the 102 minerals that you need for your body. So it helps as well. So, and I'm thinking about moving over. I really do need to work on my diet. I need to be much better about that. So plant based,
I think we all do.
yes, yes, so it's a little difficult, because we are programmed. We've had these diets for so long, and it takes time, it takes education, and you have to actually change your mindset. So yeah, mindset is really important. And so, I have my support system. My faith is very strong. I know that God is a healer. Regardless to the fact that I've had metastasis 8 times, I am still here. God is a healer. And, I am just happy, but I like to educate women on, you know, what they can do for themselves, because a lot of women tend to just go off of what the doctor says. You have to do your research yourself. You have to be able to go into your appointments. You have to be confident. You have to be educated, and so you have to know about your subtype. That way you can tell them, hey, I agree with this. No, I don't want to do this, because you have the right to tell your medical team what you want to do and what you do not want to do. Um,
So even though you're a nurse, when you found out, did you start reading things?
So, when I found out I was not a nurse, I did not become a nurse till I was 32.
Okay.
And, but what happens is, if when you get on the internet will tell you you are about to die, so because they have all of this information. And the thing about it is, when you're first diagnosed, that's another thing. After your diagnosis, they really don't give you a lot of information. You can go to support groups to find out information, or do your own research. It's not really like they'll give you some information, but it's really just like if you talk to the breast surgeon, they're going to give you information about your surgery. Your oncologist is probably going to be your go-to. I consider my oncologist like my primary my primary doctor. I go to her for everything. But initially, I don't recall doing a lot of research. And it's just because I was so young, I was devastated. I was not thinking about having to have my breast removed. And then going through chemotherapy, I lost all my hair. I was sick, that was very depressing. Um, I had 2 small children at the time. I didn't have help with their father, so my family was my support system. But it's a really difficult time, and if you don't have a support system, I mean, people, they just feel all alone. You need somebody. You really do need someone. So my mom was trying to get me to go to support groups, but I didn't want to do that. Now I will tell anybody, go to a support group, you know. And I'm in Facebook groups, breast cancer groups, and I like to give people hope, because people are in these groups, they're hopeless. People hear cancer and they like, oh, I'm gonna die, you know. And it's not always a death wish, and it's also about what you speak. You have to speak life over your situation, and so your mindset and the things that you say are very important.
Well, you are so strong. And when you told me 8 times, I'm like,
Hmm. Yeah.
God, like, and even when I talked to you for the first time, your energy was like just your energy and your spirit was just so great. Like you couldn't tell you were going through anything.
Yeah.
You were like upbeat. Um, we had great conversation. Like
Yeah.
there was no sad moment. Even when you talked about it, like there wasn't a sad moment. Like your faith is really strong.
Yeah. Well, this time around, I can truly say, even with the diagnosis to the skull, I haven't had this much peace with any other diagnosis. And for the simple fact that it's even inoperable, I am definitely at peace with it. My faith is strong, because God's word said, trust in the Lord with all thy heart, lean not to thy own understanding, and he shall direct thy path. So, I just have to trust in him. I have to stand on his word. And, the Holy Spirit will give you wisdom. He will give you clarity. And, it's been just that. I do have my moments because I don't know. Um, we tend to say, well, why me? And a lady once told me, why not you? So I have to understand what my purpose is here on this earth. Um, and so, and that's to give people hope, you know, um, and just, I don't, it's just different. It's different this time. Because my relationship is more intimate, with God. And so, and I feel his presence all the time. And so I have no reason to be afraid. It's his will, not my will. So, um, I'm just going to do what he has called me to do. And I just want to keep giving people hope. I want to keep educating women about breast cancer, about the resources, because I didn't know anything about financial resources, support groups. There's so many financial resources out here. So, um, I do give them this information because, you have to take advantage of these resources because, you can't work. Um, and it's difficult, friends and family, they help, they can only do so much, but women have to use the resources that are specifically for breast cancer, the financial resources and the support groups, because it's good to talk to somebody else that's going through the same thing that you are going through. Everybody's journey is different, but we're going through the same thing, so we have to love on one another and support one another.
So how do they get the financial information, the financial resources?
um so basically you can find the financial resources online. There's the Susan G. Komen, there's the Pink Fund. There is what other? I have them on my TikTok and I have them written down. And I do provide those financial resources. So, but you can actually find them online. There's like no specific um, website. So you
Okay.
can look them up like for your state, like I'm in Georgia. So you can look up breast cancer financial resources in Georgia and it will give you a list. So it's because each state has specific organizations, but I know Susan G. Komen is like worldwide. She's like number one. And then you have Living Beyond Breast Cancer. That's not designated to any specific state, I don't believe. But Susan G. Komen, she's like the top one, but people can search just in their state.
Okay. And then for the support group, they talk to their doctor about getting into the support groups.
Their oncologists should have information about support groups. But you can also find those online as well. Yeah, everything is really online. You can find that, but the doctor's office should have that because they're specific. They have like support groups for caregivers, and that information can be obtained from the oncologist office as well. I know my oncologist office does. They have that information because it's not only about the person that's diagnosed; it's also about whoever their caregiver is. It's stressful for them. You know, um, so yeah, yeah.
So can you tell us what a day looks like for you?
Well, right now, a day for me. So I'm not working. I have my own business, but right now, um, I'm not operating in my business full time due to the fact of my most recent diagnosis. And I'm going to be starting radiation again. There is a spot that came, well, it's the same spot in my arm. So I'm going to be starting radiation, and then I'm having some pain in that arm. So it has been pretty difficult to run my business full time. So basically, I just get up, I take my supplements, I read my Bible. I have two fur babies. I walk them. I have a granddaughter. She is 1 years old. I go and see her often. Yes, she is like the love of my life. So that's my newest passion right now. Um, and so, um, and just doing research, and just trying to figure out ways to educate other women, and I actually talk with women specifically that are in my breast cancer community, from my social media. I actually speak with these ladies, because they ask questions. What questions do they need to ask their oncologist? It's their first appointment. I offer them resources. So I spend my time doing that as well, connecting with my community. That brings me a lot of joy, a lot of peace. And basically, that's it. I mean, I go to church on Sunday. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio, so I try to go home every 3 months to see my family and my friends. And that's just really it. So, I'm just in this season right now. Um, I'm just being still right now and, waiting on direction from God. I try to be a busybody, but that's not what He's called me to do in this season. So, I'm just being still. I'm just being still, waiting for my next season. And so, yeah.
Well, I really thank you for coming on, sharing your story and educating the community. Please continue to share your story and to continue to educate. I know there's a lot of groups on
Yes.
social media and
Yes.
people that are needing support. And
Yes.
um, you have, like, I can't even explain it.
Yeah, they can just
You
go on,
cannot tell that you're going through anything.
because, girl, it's just so much to be thankful for.
Don't look like what you've been through or what.
Yeah, that's what I hear. I try not to look like what I'm going through at all, but because God is good regardless. So thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Is there anything that you like to leave with our audience before we close out?
What I would say is that death and life is in the power of the tongue, is all I can say. So you have to speak life over whatever situation, whatever it is that you're going through. You have to know that things are only for a season. It's only temporary. So don't get too caught up on what's happening now, because just know that God has something better. And yeah, God has something better. So joy comes in the morning, is all I can say.
Amen. For our audience, remember it's only pain until you discover your purpose and start your healing journey. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.